Okay. All right, so we've got a fully sealed box, right? No cut tape there. No cut tape there. Original stock tape there. All right. I'm doing this for all the horror stories that I'm seeing on Facebook. Let me make sure I got that in frame. All right, so tape here, no lift. Tape here, no lift. Original tape here, no lift. Okay. All right. Like I said, I did this. I'm doing this, which I don't normally do because of the horror stories that I've seen supposedly on Facebook where people are taking this out of the original shipper box with a broken armature. Although some of them look suspect because every brand new out of package 89 Mezco Batman has had some of the that white silicone dust that they put on the figure as to not make the silicone stick to each other. Or if the silicone sticks and it doesn't have the that powder, the silicone parts at the armpits, knees, joints, and so forth, if it's touching another part, so the bicep touching the ribs or knees, back of the knees touching the calves, silicone will tend to stick to each other and ruin the silicone mold or the silicone body. So they applied that silicone powder to avoid or mitigate that type of situation. So some of those claims that they say they made claims where they've taken the Batman out of the box for the first time and that it came from Mezco in the packaging with broken armatures and stuff like that. So I am not trying to have that situation. You can tell where they were closing it there. And this cool package. I wish this would have came in a, with as anticipated as this figure is, I wish it would have come in a tin the way that the Superman and the Wolverine did. I think seeing this embossed into a tin plate, having a complete matte black or even rubber texturized tin would have been pretty damn dope. Or even the whole tin like they did with the Superman. That the Superman was a big cylindrical tin. It would have been cool to have a tin exactly this shape. It would have been probably the shape of the size of a football or so, or maybe a rugby ball. But I'm sure that would have been a hit. That being said, the packaging itself is it's pretty nice. It's got the logo of him staring into that was the end credit of the movie. This is a throwback to the original Toy Biz packaging on the bubble cards, and of course just the regular logo with the matte black. So enough of that bullshit. Let's crack this thing open and see what the actual figure looks like. Although I'm sure that everybody that is interested in this figure has already opened it up or opened up Facebook and seen the photos and the various reviews that have been out there so far. All right, so here we got the typical design by Care Products and blah, 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 blah. A little bit more specific Care Product literature pertaining to the specific figure. Just basically going over how it is to properly set the cape onto the body and then the head onto the body with the cape being set onto the neck. Also the proper movement for the eyes. Gently move the switch back and at the back of the movable eye's head to rotate figure's eyes left to center or to the right. Then it gives you some degrees of angles. Anybody that's familiar with the TB League bodies, all the TB League bodies come with a very similar diagram that shows you how far you can stress the joints, and then some extra notes and whatnot. All right, but here we go. This is insane. The fact that it's like 3 years in the making, the anticipation for this figure is like insane. You know what? Mine really isn't all that ashy. I mean, it is a little bit, but not too bad. It's got some decent heft, which is typical of a silicone stainless steel armature body. I mean, it's got a really good weight to it. Um, yeah, I could see some of that gray ash. It's not as bold of a black, as deep of a black. But like I said, that powder is there for a purpose. Mezco even sent out an email. You know what? And I thought that this head would look a little goofier than it does because all the online photos they did not put enough eyelid on this head sculpt. So if you're looking up at it, it's going to look pretty goofy. Now it starts to look a little better there. If you're posing him where you got him low on a shelf and you're going to keep this head with the movable eyes, and you wanted to kind of pose him looking around, see right there, that doesn't look half bad. But once you can see him dead on and you see the amount of white that is, even there, it's not too bad. I think maybe when it's centered completely that you see the amount of white on both sides. Yeah. Yeah, that's where it starts to look a little nuts. But other than that, I mean, it's the sculpt on the cowl is great. I mean, they've got enough of the bulbous look. Like if you look at the actual reference photos from any of the movie stills or books that are referenced, they got that bulbous look perfectly. And anybody thinks that it doesn't look like that or his head looks too damn big really needs to go back and watch that movie again. I mean, he looked like he had a dome. The belt, if you could see, it's like a soft touch vinyl. It's pretty flexible, right there. Not anything too fancy. There's no. You could tell that what they did was they glued it on that part right there, if you can tell. So that's where they glued it. If you wanted to make it a little tighter, I'm assuming you can go ahead and put it in some hot water, take that off, and then whatever cut on the opposite side of this belt is there, you could just cut the excess from the top and the bottom and then slip it in and get it a little bit more form-fitting to where, like, let's say you wanted to keep the belt right there. There's about that much excess that you might be able to just go ahead and cut out and then re-glue. And because there's no accessories on the back, there's no accessories on the back, and it starts here and then ends here, but the accessory here is the outer part of the part that you would have to cut and glue. So you'd be able to make that adjustment, just bring that in a little tighter, and it would still be centered in the front and the back. So that's something that I plan on doing. In terms of articulation, that feels just about right. Like I said, anybody that has any of the TB League, whether it be 1/6 or 1/12 scale silicone bodies with the steel armature, exactly the same feel. You don't want to go just cranking on this and being fast and sloppy with it. These type of armatures, you really want to control the exact direction that you want to go. So outward and inward feels very smooth. Let's see. These silicone bodies, I have multiple of these, and I'm going to be displaying them in all. Basically, I like to get as many Mezco figures as the head sculpts allow until you get into the Wolverine had 7 or 8. I'm not buying those. I bought 3 Wolverines. I wanted different head sculpts and different belts and accessories to be displayed at the same time without having to go into my box and redo it and repose it. I like to just choose 3 or 4 poses with the different head sculpts and put them on there. Anyways, getting back to my boy here, you could see that he's going to have no problem doing the opening scene, open cowl there. Something to take into consideration is when you're posing the joints with these steel armatures, you kind of want to do one joint at a time, and then while you're rotating, rotate the rubber and everything with it. That's the only way that you're going to get it to stay. So you see how I haven't done that bicep yet, and the bicep looks forward? Well, naturally, when you put your shoulders up, like your bicep is going to be kind of like in the direction of your head. So you can kind of rotate gently the silicone body around the stainless steel armature, and it will help give the more accurate illusion that that's exactly where his bicep is. Also, although you're just rotating a silicone body around the stainless steel armature. Now, all right, so get that elbow back. Let's do like a little crunch here. So some of the things that I've seen where people are breaking this elbow is there's not going to be, yeah, he's got 90 degrees right there. He's got a little bit more that you could push. Right? So, yeah. A little bit further than 90, but not much more. You're definitely not going to be able to get one of those perfectly, excuse my very raw, like, the finger curling up like from the elbow. I know that's kind of confusing, but what I'm saying is basically like this is not going to be able to, his forearm is not going to be able to touch his bicep no matter how hard you try. Okay, so that's going to be the limitation of the articulation on there. And mind you, if anybody is upset about that, I get it, especially with the articulation that many figures have nowadays. But also keep into consideration, this was one of the most restrictive bat suits ever to be worn. The Cesar Romero or the Adam West Batman, it was a Lycra type of suit, with a cowl that didn't have a base that went over the chest. He was able to move fine. So as restricted as the actor was, this figure is going to be restricted as well, but I honestly think it's just as much, if not more, articulation than the real thing. And I guess the only person that could tell you for sure is Michael Keaton. Maybe somebody wants to send him one of theirs Mezcos and ask him. So, yeah, the legs definitely seem very, like you're going to have to really control the forward and back on this guy. Let me see if so the knee is good to about 90. I am not too sure. I'm going to have to look to see or even contact Mezco and find out if they have a single jointed armature or a double jointed armature. But as of right now, all right, so a little bit, if you push it a little bit more, it goes a little bit more than 90 degrees. If I straighten up the leg at the hip, you could see it kind of, woohoo! You see, it goes a little bit more than 90. All right, so with that bent, let's do this. Let's rotate, and like I said, when you rotate, you have to rotate yeah, I mean, that does good. Like the front of his muscle definition, this figure is gonna have its flaws. Yeah, there we go. So you know what? Honestly, the musculature when it twists, it's not too bad, to be honest. All right. There's at no point in the movie I guess actually, yeah. There's that part where he kicks the ninja dude in his face. But that was more of a straight on, like a forward facing kick. But if you wanted to do some crazy sidewards Jean-Claude Van Damme type of shit, you could probably get it out of this figure. I'll tell you right now that the premium feel of how firm this is great. And I would say even more so than some of the TB League. Some of the TB League figures, they feel like a softer silicone. I feel like it depresses easier. These are pretty sharp. They feel like they might be a little short, but then again, it looks on point, more or less. Let's see. Ankle articulation. Pretty decent. You've got a good amount of rocking going on. Excuse me for my voice. Just went to MegaCon dressed as Joker on Saturday and was there all week, and I'm pretty sure I picked something up. Yeah, I mean this looks great, and I'm gonna just go ahead and get a brush here in a second, and I'm gonna brush off half side with a little bit of water. So stay tuned. I apologize for the crude. I am definitely not a professional YouTuber, but I just wanted to get this on video to add to the community's ability to view this for themselves. So give me just a second. I'm gonna grab a little brush. There we go. Let's see if I can knock any of that dust off with just a dry brush. Slightly. Not much at all. Well, you can actually see there's less white there. I don't know if the camera's picking up, but you're seeing the glare from the light. But if I remove all the light, you don't really see any white in there, the way that you see kind of white in the crevices on the other side. But let me just wet the brush with some tap water. And for those of you that cringe, oh my God, he's gonna use tap water on a silicone. I've got multiple of these on order. In fact, this first order was 2, and then I jumped the gun and bought a third, just because I'm not reselling any of these, but I definitely want enough to where I could do different poses and leave them on the shelf, and then not have to. Yeah, you can tell I'm definitely not a professional YouTuber. I'm doing all this stuff like off camera. All right, so if you could tell, he darkened up quite a bit from there. That's his right side. You're viewing left side, and you can see a little bit how ashy the arm and the ribs look. This side is a little bit truer black. Let me wet a little bit more, see if I can get more off. Oh, there was a little bit of salt left on, or not salt, soap left on this brush from yesterday. All right, so I'm gonna grab, there you go. All right, I'm gonna grab a non-lint towel. And I'm just gonna blot. And I'll tell you right now, once that dust is off, this thing is on point. Like, I feel like it's not coming through on camera as good because you're catching the light at various angles, but it definitely looks better. So, you know what? Let me do the entire figure and see if I can just get all this stuff off. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this shit is on point. Yeah. All right, let's switch out. Man, that was very easy to take off. Let's see the. The magnets are pretty damn strong, I'll tell you that much. All right, let's see the battle damage cowl real quick. Oh, you know what? Let me see some extra dust and stuff. Didn't take that into account. Get that off. Got the neck peg. Back here. Somebody in the comments, tell me what this reminds you of. And if you're thinking something dirty, you're off. What I'm thinking is when Bob Ross changes the colors on his palette, on his brush, and he dips it in the water and the thinner, and then he whacks it on the stand. Just a little beating here. A little 89 Batman black on here. All right. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, if there's people on the fence trashing this figure or on the fence of getting it, because let's just all admit it, the initial photos, there was some release where maybe the person wasn't, posing the figure correctly or seating the head and the cape correctly. And then it had all that white ashy look. I'm telling you right now, man, in person, this thing is on point. If you're not used to a silicone body with a steel armature, I get that there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. And this thing may crack, years down the line. But I'm telling you right now, I've got TV League figures, 112 specifically. I've got 2 of them. I've had one of them for about 6 years. The other one for about 2 years, and I've got a 1/6 scale one, which I've also had. I was living in Tampa. That was 2015-ish. So we're talking about, and this was before they were even called TB League. I forgot what they were called before. But yeah, so I mean, we're talking about approximately 7 to 8 years on the other one, and there's no cracking, there's no, degradation. It's all on how you care for it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take some of that 303 though. Because I feel like, all right, note to self and to others. Some of the soapy residue from the brush is getting in there. So my mistake saves you doing your mistake. So I'll have to go in there later on with some distilled water, and I'll remove all that with a different, like a soft makeup brush. But I'm pretty sure all that can be removed, so I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, as soon as you get the 303 and you wipe all that stuff down and it adds the protectant on it, that protectant layer, it's going to look exactly the black that it's supposed to be. All right, so that being said, let me go ahead and get the cape out. All right, the stand. I wish they would have kept the original design for the stand as well, man. Anyways. Regardless of the fact that there could have been a tin. Here's the stand. Do I feel like maybe at the end of it they rushed it and they were trying to get the shit out the door? Yeah. The Batman symbol on this is not centered. Which if it wasn't going to be centered, I would have preferred the peg back so that when you're posing the figure, you could see more of the actual emblem. So the emblem sits closer to the bottom than it does the top. I don't know if I'm picking that up as well, but in hand, definitely. And then also, if this peg is going to be in the middle of the bat symbol, why not put a black peg in there? That being said, we've got plenty of other bases that are black, so I'm definitely going to be switching that shit out. All right, is this the... All right, this is the over-the-shoulder draping cape, okay? I'm assuming because that's a lot closer together and it gives the illusion that it's down. So let me go ahead and try to put this on camera. I could see where the problem is going to be. It's like the material is so thick that, here, let me put this inside out. And then, oh, you know what the fucking issue is? All right, so here's the issue and why I think it's difficult to do this is if this, so this neck piece right here that houses the magnet, it is hard plastic. Here's the issue. When you go to try to put any force on the cape to push it down onto this peg, here's what happens. You see it depressing there? So because it's sitting on the silicone body itself, which I'm assuming that they fused this plastic with this rubber suit on the inside of it, it doesn't give a strong enough like rigid background to push against to force the collar of the cape onto it. So it's going to require more finesse to get on. So I'm going to try the whole one side first and force it. All right, I've got about half of it on. The issue is this is, I'll be honest, this is poor design. They should have done it to where this collar has like a ridge or an opening, like a rail system here that the cape would get attached into or glued into. And then this would be one solid plastic piece that goes onto there. Because adding the material on the bottom of this, underneath this plastic collar, it puts too much material in between the collar, the plastic collar itself, and the collar retainer, which is the neck piece. So that's difficult. Let me go ahead and see if I could do this off camera just momentarily. All right, and I'm back. That's the beautiful thing about being able to pause. So is it possible to get done and get it sat on the collar? Let me get this in. It absolutely is. And it sits pretty flush, but it requires a lot of force. And if you have no fingernails, you're going to need your wife's help. If you are a female collector, you should be all right, unless you chew on your fingers. Yeah, if you could see, I mean, it's pretty flush. You could see the collar. Now on this side, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and do this live. So some of this leatherette material sticks out past the collar. And because I have multiple, and I would just rather have it fit the way that I want it to fit, I'm going to take these tiny, so these are like, Jesus, can focus, please? There we go. So these are like, they came with a personal men's grooming kit. I think they're for your nose. So I'm just going to go ahead and clip this shit off. Once again, guys, I just got home from work. To find this on the doorstep, I was surprised that it did not require a signature. I thought it was going to. So I rushed home, make sure no porch pirates got my shit, because after 3 years of waiting, I would have lost it if somebody picked up this figure. So I am just randomly doing this. In fact, I started this video just to have proof, if needed, from Mezco or for Mezco, that if mine was damaged out of the box, I did an unboxing for it to show and verify that, yep, it was nothing I did. It came out of the box like that. So far, so good. It doesn't seem like anything's bad. Body seems fine, you know. Let me see. Left. Okay, that one's a little twisted, but all right. So that knee joint works. And like I said, these are, his right leg is slightly easier to rotate forward or extend forward. But even that, it's, here, there we go. Let me twist the knee correctly. Now I'm noticing that there is a little bit of a gap between the body . You know what? I don't give a shit. It looks dope. I don't think any one figure is perfect. And this one does not have, at least on first glance and first in-hand impressions, any extreme gripes. So let's see how the cowl sits on the head, or that magnetized neck structure with the the cape installed. I'd already taken out a head sculpt, did I not? Yes, I did. And you know what? Let's go with the battle damaged. Yeah, I don't give a damn what anybody says. That sits perfect. There is no gap. I mean, the first posts that I saw on Facebook, this thing was sitting like so high, it looked ridiculous. But if I were to get you my Hot Toy right now of the the original Hot Toy release, 89, and this one, Not too much difference in the overall profile of how it is that the cowl sits on top of the cape. I mean, this thing is looking good. For anybody that's poo-pooing this figure, but you're a Keaton fan or an 89 fan, a Returns fan, you are going to regret having either canceled your pre-order or if you didn't have a pre-order and you were on the fence and didn't buy them, I would say do so. If BBTS or anybody else has it posted up, you are going to regret missing out on this, dude. And especially when those McFarlane Batmobiles hit. I mean, granted, it's the Flash version of the Batmobile, and there's a couple inconsistencies in that, but that's, I guess, for another video. Yeah, Homeboy is on point. I don't give a damn what anybody says. The cape, I mean, honestly, is anybody expecting Mezco to get their cape perfect? It's a pretty thin material. You know, it's a leatherette, so it's got a material that is blasted with like that PU leather, you know. It's fairly thin, but it is rigid. It is, you know, because of the seams, wherever you have the seams, you know, those seams, the material is folded and then stitched. And this is a double stitch, in fact. So you could kind of see the fold there. They'll meet the two pieces of material and then they'll fold it back on each other and then do the double stitching. I apologize for my hands being that cracked. I am a technician, so here's what it is. I don't got QVC hands. Anyways, so this seam is overlapped, so doubled up and then folded over and then double stitched. So each one of these seams lends itself to be not very flowy, and it adds weight basically to the material there, so it doesn't just fall. You know what I'm saying? On top of that, what they did do is they integrated. So I have a wire on this front end. I have no wire on that middle seam or that next segment. There is a bendy wire in that next segment. No bendy wire on this one. The one that's directly behind him does. So what we have is every other seam of the cape has a bendy wire to be able to pose. So let's see if I could just get this guy in a pose real quick. So if you see some of the original photos, like the Michael Keaton with Jack Nicholson, where they're like standing side by side, he's got a very controlled fold over the shoulders. Yeah, there we go. I'm telling you right now, man, if you, I'm gonna say it again, and I'll probably say it like 5 more times. If you're shitting on this figure and you're an 89 fan, you are going to regret not having them. I don't care if this thing degrades in 5 years. We all buy $20 and $30 figures that have broken right out the package. And I know some people have experienced that with this one. This dude is legit. I don't even have good lighting. I'm not setting them up with, you know, green fluorescent lights on a diorama to enhance the overall appearance. I don't even have, I mean, Homeboy's wrist right now is broken. Let me just get him in a somewhat of a museum, somewhat like lats out, like, you know what? Let's do that little punch when that ninja dude's coming at him. Oh, I forgot to even do any freaking waist articulation. Bro, this dude got more articulation than Keaton ever had, okay? Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm very grossly articulating him, you know, on this Homeboy he looks good. I don't care what anyone has to say. I'm not doing a full review. I just, like I said, this started off as me unboxing it, and I wanted to get proof in case mine was messed up. And I do have another one to open to make sure that that one's not messed up as well. But yeah, I mean, if you, like I said, if you're sitting on this and you do not know what to do because everybody's poo-pooing on this left and right, if you're the type of collector that just wants what you want and you want a good Keaton head sculpt and you don't give a damn about what all the haters are saying, then you know what? Go ahead and pick up this figure. You are not going to regret it. I mean, Come on now, focus. And I'm shooting this with a Z Fold 4. I do not have a professional camera, and I'm not claiming that this looks. I'm telling you right now, looking at the screen and looking at this in hand, everything is much darker than what's coming up on my phone screen. So if you can imagine this being, a very nice matte black, the phone is picking up any and all of the lighting accents on his musculature. And it's enhancing it for some reason, probably just digitally. But to the naked eye, like this thing is black. It looks phenomenal. All right, I just want to take a second to go over some of the accessories. So this is the grapnel gun. And it looks great. I mean, granted, this scale, it's going to be hard to get all of the details correct. For example, like the spool, those little eyelets right there, like those two that you're seeing right there, we should be able to see like the silver line. Honestly, there's a fix for that. You can just go ahead and get a very, very thin brush, some metallic paint, and put it in there if you got good eyes. If you want something a little bit more controlled, you could use one of those Sharpie fine point silver paint pens. I'll try to find mine and maybe post pictures of it later on. But anyways, so we're missing that. And then on this side, if you look at the photos, if you look at most reference photos, this right here, come on, you piece of garbage. Focus. There we go. All right, so that piece right there, that should be silver, and it is a plate. Like those 4 bolts hold on like a silver plate that keeps this folding handle in place. Now, that being said, this does not fold. Obviously, it's very small, so if they were to have made it folding, it would be way too brittle and probably break immediately. So this is definitely to keep in his hand, posed as if he's using the grapnel gun. Now, they do have the grapnel. These pieces are very, very small, and because of the size, the plastic is very thin and feels delicate. So please do be careful when you are handling your accessories. Good Lord, you know what? F that. All right, let me show the folded. So this is it folded like when it is on his utility belt. I will research and find out whether this will magnetize. Oh, and it does. Look at that. See what happens when you start trying to figure shit out? So this, I'm assuming that there's a magnet inside of this. Which side did I have? There we go. I had the wrong side. Okay. Okay. So the sweet spot is just after this first utility capsule. Although I never saw him really pull anything out of those, but typically those are like utility capsules where he holds, I don't know, all types of stuff in. There's a magnet in the belt, or either a metal piece, that there is a magnetic attraction between the grapnel and this piece right here, in between these two pill-looking accents on his belt. Yep. So if you just find the sweet spot, it is magnetized and it will stay in place. I'm shaking him. It's not coming off. I mean, seems to be... You want to go nuts? Let's go nuts. Oh my goodness. All right, so yes, it is magnetized. It will stay in place. Let me check the original grapnel and see if that does as well. And it does. That being said, it magnetizes if you keep the handle in the orientation where he would grab it naturally. If you try to do it opposite side, the magnetic force, the poles are opposite, so it actually, it does not have a magnetic attraction. It repels, but it will stay on point. It'll stay there. Let's see. Let's give this one a little shake test. Yep, this one's good as well. There it is. Let's see if I can get that on cam. There is a small, tiny little magnet in there. Let me get Homeboy's arm. Once again, for the 50th time, forgive me for the crude improvisational style video, but I just kind of want to do a organic in hand. All right, so hopefully you can see. You see that little square right there? Here, I'm trying to squeeze the belt away from the... So there is a very small neodymium magnet to the right of center on his belt buckle. And so since the magnet is there, I'm assuming there's a small little plate or the same size little magnet on the actual accessories, because the attraction was pretty good. You saw that when I shook them, it didn't come off. So the magnetic attraction there is pretty damn good. So I'm assuming that there's not only a magnet on this part of the belt, but a small magnet similar in size, probably inside of the grapnel gun, both the folded and the unfolded ready-to-use version. I think that's about it. I mean, I've tried the different heads. You could see that in terms of his head sitting where it needs to be, he looks so damn... I'm telling you, people, if you're a 1/12 scale collector, you already know the frustration of taking pictures and looking at the pictures and being dissatisfied because seeing your 1/12 scale figures in picture is not nearly as satisfying or gratifying looking at it in real life with your own two eyes. It really isn't. I don't know what it is about the scale, but it's difficult to pick up the amount of detail on these figures. I don't know. They always look better in person than in photos. I'm going to try to separate the boot a little bit. See if I can take it off. No? Okay, cool. So that seems on there pretty damn sturdy. Now, the gauntlets are a hard plastic that is around the rubber. So the rubber, the silicone suit, I'm assuming kind of like tapers off. And then let me see something real quick. Yeah, the gauntlet is definitely glued to the silicone rubber suit. And then, of course, you got the wrist peg that is a separate piece that probably just goes into here. The armature probably stops like halfway in the gauntlet. Don't know why I say gauntlet like that. I'm starting to get a bunch of phlegm in the back of my throat. Anyways, it seems like the armature probably stops like somewhat early in the gauntlet, and then you got the wrist peg that probably goes, a couple of millimeters into the maybe like 3/8 of an inch or 3/16 of an inch into the plastic gauntlet part, and then you've got the wrist that rotates fine. They captured all of the detail inside of the glove. There we go. Jesus, kind of makes me want to get real equipment. Anyways, yeah, like I said, I mean, if you guys can. Yeah, I'm telling you, the video just does not, it doesn't do it justice, man. In person, this figure is beyond impressive. Even the texture of the cowl, wow, I just noticed that. Like, this texture is so satiny smooth. I mean, they just got, and even so, it still has all of like the very slight impressions the way that the original, like any type of latex cowl would have. And I'm telling you, it's not picking it up on camera the way you could see it in person, but this figure is fucking dope. It is, it's great. Here we go. We've got some batarangs. Tiny little bit of slop on the paint job, but I mean, honestly, this is so tiny that it's not even that big of a deal. And if you do any type of painting on your figures, that's something that you can easily correct. But the batarangs look great. They are made of plastic. They're pretty thin, and let me just see. I mean, they got a little bit of give, but they're pretty rigid. Let's see. This is his grapnel line launcher that he uses in the Guggenheim Museum. with his escape for his escape with Vicky Vale. This is done extremely well. The paint job, it looks great. Got a little bit of flashing from the plastic whenever they take it out of the mold. But all of the pieces that are gold are gold. All the pieces that need to be silver are silver. These rotate. This is how it would be when he didn't use it. Then when he took it out, put his hand up and launched them, this came out like that. And the grapnel shot off, one to the door and one to the wall behind them. And then they went down and broke through these really hefty doors without any broken bones. But we will suspend belief because we're Batman fans. So yeah, this looks great. Or maybe that's the way it was when it was on the photo. Who fucking knows? I don't care. I don't care. It looks great either way. All right, here we go. We got a grapnel line launch, a batarang. This is what I love. They put a batarang with an extremely thin wire. So if you want to have them throwing it, damn it, come on, flex or focus. Here we go. Do this. There we go. Tell you people, low budget. This is low budget. But yeah, this makes for a great accessory. And I don't know, do I have Parkinson's or something? Very difficult to get that still. Anyways, it looks great. That little inclusion of the wired batarang looks great. This is also the same thing, but a wired grapnel hook. There we go. This is the communicator that he uses to call the Batmobile with. That's probably as good as I'm going to get it. That's a very, very tiny piece. Like I said, this is not a full review. I was just trying to ensure that my stuff wasn't coming out of the packaging correctly. I'm fucking telling you. I'm gonna go get my Hot Toys real quick and I'm gonna put them side by side, and I'm gonna put them the correct distance so they look about the same dimension on camera. So I'll have to put the 1/6 scale like back here. But I'm going to go look at this profile for profile on this screen real quick. So